Friends, I want to share a fundamental truth that reshaped my entire perspective on life and achievement. It's a simple idea, but its implications are profound. While talent might give you a strong start, it is consistency that carries you across the finish line. Every individual you look up to, every visionary company you aspire to create, every single result you wish to manifest in your own life, all of it boils down to one quiet, often invisible force. That force is consistency. We often hear people say, I don't have the right resources, or I lack the necessary support, or I just don't have any luck. But the real truth, the one we sometimes shy away from, is that you don't need luck. What you need is persistence, not the kind you muster for a week or even for a month. You need the kind of persistence that endures for years. The secret to monumental achievement isn't found in a single heroic act. It is hidden within the fabric of what you do every single day, especially in those moments when you are completely alone, when no one is there to witness your effort. It's in the quiet dedication that goes unseen and uncelebrated. Every one of us has a dream. We all carry within us a vision of a greater reality, a vision of success, of personal freedom, of recognition, of profound happiness. But here is the crucial distinction that most people fail to grasp. Dreaming is the easy part. Consistency is the hard part. Anyone can close their eyes and imagine a grand future, but very, very few possess the fortitude to wake up every single morning and take those small, often boring, and frequently uncomfortable steps toward that dream, especially when there is no immediate applause, no external validation to be found. Consistency possesses a unique power. It will break every limit you have ever set for yourself, because it is the one force in life that is utterly incapable of deception. You can charm people with eloquent words. You can dazzle them momentarily with a flash of your innate talent, but you can never, ever cheat consistency. It is the most honest accountant you will ever meet. It knows, with precise clarity, exactly how much effort you have truly invested, and it rewards you in direct proportion to that investment. Not necessarily today, and not even tomorrow, but eventually, in ways you cannot possibly foresee or imagine from where you stand now. In the beginning, when you first commit to this path, people around you will not understand your dedication. They may laugh. They might call you crazy. They will question you, asking, why are you wasting your time? Or why don't you just relax and enjoy life like everyone else? And let's be honest, there will be times when you will join them in their doubt. You will look inward and wonder if all this relentless effort is truly worth it. This is because when you first begin to be consistent, the results are rarely immediate. The entire process can feel invisible, like you're shouting into a void. You wake up early, you work hard, you strive to improve, and yet on the surface, nothing seems to change. The landscape of your life appears exactly the same. But you must remember this vital principle. Roots grow deep underground long before the tree ever becomes visible above the soil. When you water a plant diligently every single day, you don't see growth for a very long time. But that does not mean that nothing is happening. Beneath the surface, out of sight, the roots are spreading, building a foundation so strong and so vast that it can eventually support a giant towering tree. This is precisely what consistency does for your life. It builds your roots. You might not see the success you're striving for yet, but I assure you, success is quietly growing beneath the surface, gathering its strength, waiting for the precise moment to break through. And when it finally does, when it erupts into view for all to see, everyone will call you an overnight success. But you and I will know the real truth. We will know that this so-called overnight phenomenon was actually built over many years of unseen work, years of unwavering faith, and years of relentless consistency. Our modern world loves excitement. We are drawn to the allure of fast progress, instant success, and quick results. But genuine, lasting success does not originate from a place of excitement. It is born from endurance. Anyone can be excited and highly motivated for one day. But the real winners, the true champions in any field, are the ones who can remain consistent on day 1, on day 100, and on day 1000. They are the ones who show up when no one is watching, when the applause has long since faded, and when the only person left in the room who must believe in the mission is you. Let me share a lesson I learned early in my own journey. The difference between ordinary people and extraordinary people is not some magical, innate quality. It is simply this: extraordinary people do not quit when the process becomes boring. They continue to do the small fundamental things. They keep reading. They keep learning. They keep practicing. They allow themselves to fail. They make adjustments, and then they repeat the cycle again and again and again. The small habits you repeat daily are what build an unshakable core of confidence. You do not build true confidence by talking a big game. You build it by keeping the small, private promises you make to yourself. Every single time you do what you said you would do, especially when it's difficult, especially when you don't feel like it, you are building a profound trust with the most important person in your life, you. That is how genuine self-belief is cultivated, not through fleeting motivation, not through external hype, but through relentless daily repetition. You show up, you do the work, and over time you will witness the world beginning to bend toward your unwavering consistency. It is also critical to understand that consistency does not mean perfection. Far from it. Consistency means you keep showing up even after you have failed. Because failure is not the opposite of consistency. Failure is an integral part of it. Every failure is a test, a question posed by the universe. Are you truly serious about this? Most people, when faced with failure, fail once and then they quit. But the consistent ones, they fail 100 times and still wake up the next morning with the resolve to try again. They understand on a fundamental level that failure is not defeat. It is feedback. It is information. Every time they fall, they study what happened, they adjust their approach, they improve their method, and they keep going. Think about this deeply. You do not become great by avoiding failure. You become great by mastering failure. And the only path to mastery is through repetition. The first time you try something, you will make mistakes. The 10th time you try, you will likely still make mistakes. But by the 100th time, something significant will have shifted. You will begin to move differently. Your thinking will become faster and more intuitive. You will start to understand the underlying patterns. Suddenly, what once felt impossibly difficult now feels natural, almost instinctive. That is the true magic of consistency. It systematically turns your weaknesses into strengths. There is a secret, deeper lesson that consistency teaches you, one that talent alone can never impart. When you are consistent, you begin to notice subtleties and nuances that others completely miss. You develop a powerful intuition. You gain a profound understanding of timing, of patterns, of human behavior, of systems, of emotions. All the hidden details that only reveal themselves to those who are willing to stay in the game long enough to observe them. Most people quit long before they reach this level of understanding. They never stay consistent long enough to truly comprehend the depth of the game they are playing. But the consistent ones, they transcend talent. They move beyond the need for luck. They reach a level of depth and insight that makes them truly unstoppable. You might not have money, powerful connections, or genius-level intelligence right now. But if you possess consistency, you can build all of those things. You might start with absolutely nothing, but if you stay consistent, life will eventually begin to present you with opportunities. Because life, in its own mysterious way, respects those who do not give up. The universe has a tendency to reward those who keep showing up day after day, even when there is no audience, no applause, and no immediate reward. Your dream does not require perfection to be realized. It requires patience. It does not need a miracle. It needs momentum. And momentum is generated solely through consistency. Every time you take action, even a small, seemingly insignificant action, you create motion. That motion, repeated, builds energy. That energy, sustained, builds progress. And one day, that steady progress undergoes a metamorphosis and becomes a total transformation. Think about the nature of water. Water is soft, gentle, and calm. But when it flows consistently, day after day, year after year, it can carve canyons through solid rock. That is the awesome power of consistency. It breaks through every limit, not with brute force, but with gentle, unwavering persistence. Every drop, every step, every single day, all of it compounds into something that becomes truly unstoppable. So, my friends, I urge you to stop waiting for the perfect moment to arrive. Stop waiting to feel completely ready. The truth is, you will never feel fully ready. Success does not seek out those who wait for the right time. It gravitates toward those who make every time the right time by their actions. Even if you cannot run right now, then walk. If you cannot walk, then crawl. But whatever you do, do not stop moving. Do not cease your forward progress. One day, you will look back over your journey and realize that the things which once felt impossible have now become a natural part of your daily life. You will look at your old limits and you will laugh, because you will understand that you didn't break them in a single dramatic night. You broke them bit by bit, piece by piece, day after day, through the quiet, humble, yet immense power of consistency. And in that moment of clarity, you will understand that your success was never about luck. It was never about who you knew. It was never about what resources you had at the beginning. It was always about how long you were willing to stay consistent. So keep going, keep showing up, even when the progress feels agonizingly slow, even when the path feels lonely, because one day your consistency will shatter every limit you ever thought you had. And on that day, you won't just be successful, you will be unstoppable. When you embark on something new in life, a business, a personal dream, a skill, any kind of journey, the people around you will not see what you see. They will not believe what you believe. In the early stages, everything feels invisible. You are working hard, pouring your energy and time into your vision, but there are no tangible results to show for it. You are learning, growing, and evolving, but no one notices the internal shift. You wake up earlier than everyone else. You stay up later, you sacrifice your comfort and immediate pleasures, and still, on the surface, nothing appears to change. And it is at this exact moment that you will begin to question yourself. You will wonder, am I just wasting my time? Am I even moving forward, or am I just spinning my wheels? This invisible stage is without a doubt the most difficult part of any dream. Because when you start, you are fueled by a surge of energy, excitement, and passion. You can vividly imagine your future success. You can picture the day when people will finally admire your achievements. But after a few months, when no one has noticed your progress, when your results are still small and insignificant, and when your friends or family start making comments like, "You're still doing that?" your initial motivation begins to fade. You start to wonder if maybe they are right. Maybe it's not worth it. Maybe you should just quit and return to a normal, comfortable life. But let me tell you something that is incredibly important to internalize. Every great story, every monumental achievement begins in silence. Before success makes any noise, consistency does its work in the quiet. The roots of your dream are developing underground, deep beneath the surface of visible reality. You cannot see them, but I promise you, they are there, growing deeper and stronger with every single day that you show up. When you are consistent, you are not just performing tasks, you are building a foundation that one day will be strong enough to support everything you have ever dreamed of. But because the world at large only looks at what is visible, they will assume you are not making any progress. They will see you trying, failing, repeating, and they will mistakenly think you are stuck. But they cannot see what is happening beneath the surface. It is exactly like planting a bamboo tree. For the first few years, absolutely nothing happens above ground. You water it every day. You care for it. You protect it from the wind and the sun. And yet, it doesn't grow even a single inch above the earth. People will laugh. They will say, "You've been watering this for years, and there's still nothing there. You're wasting your time." But then, one day, the bamboo shoots up from the ground, and within just a few weeks, it grows taller than anything else around it. Did it grow in those few weeks? No. It grew over the course of many years, silently and patiently underground, building a massive, intricate root system strong enough to hold and sustain its incredible eventual height. That is precisely how real success works. You spend years building the unseen roots, the habits, the discipline, the mindset, the experience. And then one day, everything bursts into view, and your success becomes visible to all. People will call you lucky. They will say you came out of nowhere. But you will know the truth. You will know that you were there every single day, showing up, fighting through doubt, staying consistent. while everyone else grew impatient and stopped. That invisible period is a test of your character. It is the point where most people give up because they are conditioned to expect immediate rewards. They operate under the fallacy that effort must equal instant success. But the real world does not work that way. The universe pays on a delay. You invest the effort today, and the reward comes later when you have earned the maturity, the wisdom, and the strength to handle it properly. That is why patience is not a weakness. It is a profound form of power. Let me tell you something I have learned from watching countless dreamers and builders. The world will rarely believe in you at the beginning, and that is perfectly okay. It is not their job to believe in you. It is your job to believe in yourself long enough and to be consistent enough for them to eventually see the proof materialize before their eyes. When you start something small, people might mock you. When it fails a few times in the beginning, they might laugh. But when you finally succeed, they will often say, "I always knew you could do it." This is the predictable cycle of life. So stop worrying about who believes in you today. Stop expending energy on seeking external validation. Instead, focus on becoming so remarkably consistent that one day even your most ardent critics will have no choice but to respect you. You see, most people are addicted to visibility. They want others to see their progress immediately. They crave quick recognition, quick money, quick validation. But genuine growth does not happen in front of an audience. Growth happens in solitude. It happens in silence. It happens in the countless hours when no one is clapping for you, when no one is offering encouragement. The athlete improves their performance when they are training alone in the gym. The writer improves their craft when nobody is reading their early drafts. The entrepreneur improves their business acumen when the entire world doubts their vision. The invisible stage is not a punishment, it is a preparation. It is the sacred space where you build your inner strength, your resilience, and your character. It is where you discover who you really are when things get hard. Because when life gets silent and results are slow to appear, that is precisely when the weak stop and the strong keep going. And that is the very essence of what consistency truly means. Showing up and doing the work even when the results are completely invisible. Do not forget, success has a strange and ironic sense of humor. It often hides itself, just to see who will keep going without the promise of an immediate reward. It disappears from view just long enough to make you doubt yourself, to test your resolve. But the ones who keep moving, who keep improving, who keep believing in their vision, even when all evidence seems to the contrary, they are the ones to whom success eventually reveals itself. Because success does not come to those who are merely lucky. It comes to those who are ready. It comes to those who have done the work to deserve it. When you are consistent, something incredibly powerful begins to happen inside of you. You start to develop a deep, unwavering trust in yourself. You stop needing constant validation from others. You stop the destructive habit of comparing your chapter 1 to someone else's chapter 20. You begin to understand that growth is a deeply personal journey, and you start to find joy and satisfaction in the process itself, not just in the final reward. You will also begin to notice something else shifting in the world around you. People who once doubted you will slowly start asking for your advice. The ones who ignored your early efforts will begin studying your results. The same people who called you crazy will eventually start calling you smart. But by that time, you will have grown so much internally that you won't even need their approval anymore. You will have learned the most valuable secret of all. Consistency builds a profound inner peace, not a puffed up pride. Every single master in any field was once a beginner who simply refused to quit. Every success story you have ever heard began with thousands of invisible days of hard, thankless work. The person who ultimately wins is very rarely the most naturally talented. It is almost always the one who stayed long enough, who was consistent enough for their work to finally be seen and recognized. So when you feel like nothing is working, remind yourself that the roots are growing. When no one supports you, remember that your vision is not for them to understand at this moment. When your results are slow to manifest, understand that slow growth is real growth. Speed is exciting and flashy, but depth is what creates a lasting foundation. Keep watering your dream. Keep showing up for your goal. Even if your progress feels completely invisible, trust that it is not wasted. Because one day, That invisible effort will become your visible, undeniable success. And when that day arrives, you will realize that all the waiting, all the doubting, all the lonely nights of work were absolutely worth it. The journey is invisible at first because it is secretly shaping you into the kind of person who can handle the very success you asked for. It is not just about achieving the goal. It is about becoming the person who truly deserves it. The invisible stage is not the end of your journey. It is the very beginning of your greatness. So, if you are in that phase right now where no one notices your work, where progress feels painfully slow, and where tangible results seem frustratingly far away, I implore you, do not stop. This is your test. This is your moment of truth. Keep going, keep believing, keep taking action, because one day you will wake up and everything that was once invisible will stand tall before you, undeniable, unstoppable, and beautifully, uniquely yours. There is a quiet, understated power that most people ignore, overlook, or simply undervalue. It is the power of taking small, deliberate steps every single day. We live in a world that celebrates big wins, monumental moments, and instant results. Everywhere you look, people are desperately chasing shortcuts. They want to lose weight fast, get rich fast, become famous overnight. But the truth, the one that nobody particularly likes to hear, is that real sustainable progress is almost always slow, silent, and repetitive. The people who truly change their lives, who build something of lasting value, are not the ones who move the fastest in short bursts. They are the ones who move every day, no matter how slow or insignificant that movement might feel in the moment. You do not build genuine, deep-seated confidence by talking about your goals. You build it by showing up for them day after day. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, even a small private one, you grow stronger on the inside. Every time you do what you said you would do, even when no one else cares or is watching, you are teaching your own mind that your words have value, that your commitments matter. That is what real self-respect is built upon. Not on the applause of a crowd, not on the validation of others, but on the quiet, internal satisfaction of knowing that you can trust yourself to follow through. When you start taking these small steps, it will not look impressive to the outside world. You might study for 1 extra hour when everyone else is sleeping. You might practice your craft for 30 minutes after a long day at work when you're completely exhausted. You might go to the gym for a quick workout when you don't see any immediate change in the mirror. And people will ask you, why bother? What's the point? They will not understand that these small, seemingly insignificant actions are not about today's result. They are about building momentum. Because once you build momentum, once you get that flywheel spinning, the impossible gradually starts to look possible. You see, every mountain, no matter how tall, can be climbed, but not in one single giant leap. You climb it one small, deliberate step at a time. From the perspective of the climber, every step can look and feel the same. Every new view can feel similar to the last, and the process can become monotonous and boring. But it is precisely those boring, repetitive steps that separate the dreamers from the true achievers. Most people quit halfway up the mountain because they cannot see the top yet. They become discouraged, thinking that if progress isn't clearly visible, then it isn't real. But the truth is, growth happens on the inside, in your muscles, in your mind, in your spirit, long before it ever shows on the outside. The body you want, the career you dream of, the skills you admire in others, they are all built quietly through small, consistent efforts that no one applauds and few people ever see. I have met countless individuals who started their journeys with immense strength and passion. They had energy, excitement, and everything looked perfect in the beginning. But then came the middle, the long, arduous middle part of the journey where you wake up tired, where no one notices your effort, where results come so slowly they are almost imperceptible. That is where most people disappear. They think they have failed, but the reality is they haven't truly failed. They have simply stopped. They gave up. Consistency is not glamorous. It is not flashy. But it is undefeated in the long run. The one who keeps going, who persists through the boring middle, will always, eventually, pass the one who had a more brilliant start but then quit. The reason these small steps matter so much is because they create a rhythm in your life. Once you establish that rhythm, you no longer need to rely on motivation. You don't wake up in the morning wondering if you feel like doing the work. You just do it because it has become a part of who you are. You stop negotiating with your goals. You stop having internal debates about whether or not to take action. You simply act. That is what winners do differently. They treat their dream not as a hobby, but as a responsibility. They understand that discipline is, in fact, the highest form of self-love because it is the act of protecting your future from your present desires for comfort and laziness. And every time you follow that rhythm, you are actively changing your identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to be fit, and you start saying, I am the kind of person who trains every day. You stop saying, I want to build a business, and you start saying, I am an entrepreneur who learns and improves daily. The transformation does not happen only when you finally reach your goal. It happens the very moment you commit to daily action. Because the moment you start showing up consistently, your brain begins to believe that you are serious. And once your brain believes it, it starts to align everything, your thoughts, your habits, your energy, in that direction. Small steps may seem insignificant when viewed in isolation, but their power lies in compounding. One single drop of water means nothing, but drops of water falling continuously in the same spot day after day can wear away the hardest stone. Reading a single page of a book feels like a small act, but read just one page every day, and you will finish over 100 books in a few years. Doing 10 push-ups feels like a tiny effort, but 10 push-ups done daily for a year will fundamentally change your physical strength. The secret is not in doing more in a single burst. The secret is in doing a little bit regularly, because it is repetition that builds true mastery. At first, repetition can feel tiring and monotonous. You will say to yourself, I already did this yesterday. Why am I doing it again today? But that is exactly the point. Mastery is not about chasing new things every day. Mastery is about doing the same fundamental thing so many times that it becomes second nature, that it becomes a part of you. It is not about chasing variety. It is about chasing improvement within repetition. A dancer does not become world-class by learning new steps every single day. They become extraordinary by repeating the same foundational steps thousands of times until their execution is flawless. That is what makes them great. The same principle applies to every area of life. You might fail at first, you might fail 10 times, but every repetition makes you sharper, wiser, and faster. When others see only boredom in repetition, you learn to see opportunity. When others are constantly seeking excitement, you learn to seek steady improvement. And that is the precise point when you become truly unstoppable. There is a deep, quiet confidence that comes from knowing with absolute certainty that you can rely on yourself. It is a humble confidence, the kind that doesn't need to boast or prove anything to anyone. It is the kind of confidence that allows you to walk calmly through life's storms because you know you have faced difficulty before and persevered. That unshakable confidence is born from small daily victories. It is forged in the moments when you wanted to quit more than anything, but you chose to take one more step instead. The biggest trap of modern life is the constant temptation of comparison. You look at someone else's curated success on social media and you immediately think you are behind. You start doubting your own slow, steady pace. But you must remember a critical truth. When you do this, you are comparing your practice stage, your invisible root-building years, to someone else's performance stage. They too had their invisible years. They too went through seasons of quiet repetition that nobody saw or celebrated. Do not let the poison of comparison destroy your precious consistency. You are not late. You are not behind. You are simply early in your own unique process. This is a journey, not a race. Every great builder, whether building a structure or a life, lays one brick at a time. Every strong, enduring wall stands only because those bricks were placed patiently, evenly, and correctly, one after the other. You cannot rush this process. If you try to stack bricks too quickly, the wall will become unstable and collapse. Life is exactly the same. You need patience to go the distance. You need to learn to love the process itself enough to do it without any external applause, because the applause will come later, at a time when you may not even need it anymore. If you truly want to break your limits, you must stop waiting for the one big dramatic leap. Instead, focus on taking small, steady steps. If you write just one page today, you are already ahead of everyone who is still just thinking about writing. If you study for one focused hour, you have already improved from who you were yesterday. If you train for just 30 minutes, your body has already undergone a positive change, however small. These little wins may seem insignificant in the moment, but they are actively building a powerful future that you cannot yet see. And when you look back one day, you will realize just how far those small, consistent steps have taken you. You will remember the nights you wanted to quit, but chose to stay consistent anyway. You will remember the early mornings you pushed yourself out of bed when no one was watching, and you will realize that those were the defining moments that changed everything. So start today, and then keep going tomorrow. Don't fall into the trap of counting the days. Instead, make each day count. Because the person who takes one honest forward step every single day will always, without exception, reach their destination. Not because they were the luckiest, not because they were the most naturally gifted, but simply because they never, ever stopped walking. The world, in the end, belongs to those who stay consistent with their small steps, to those who keep their promises to themselves, who build their rhythm, and who never allow comfort to steal their commitment. You don't have to move fast. You just have to keep moving. Because one day your small, consistent steps will have created a big, beautiful life. And you will look back at the path behind you and smile, knowing with absolute certainty that every single day mattered. Failure is a topic that everyone talks about, but very few people truly understand. People love to say, don't be afraid to fail, but when failure actually arrives, they often panic. They feel embarrassment, hopelessness, and a sense of being lost. They interpret failure as proof that they are not good enough, that they are inherently flawed. But in truth, failure is not a signal to stop. It is an invitation to grow. If you can learn to see failure correctly, to reframe it in your mind, it becomes your most loyal teacher, your strongest motivator, and your greatest strategic advantage. Every single person who has ever achieved something remarkable has walked a long, winding road paved with failures. But what separates them from the rest of the world is not their superior intelligence, not their extraordinary luck, not even their privileged opportunities. It is their consistency through failure. Most people fail once, and they walk away defeated. Great people fail hundreds, even thousands of times, and they keep walking. The consistent person does not see failure as the end of the road. They see it as a bend in the road, a place to turn, to adjust their course, and to continue moving forward. When you are consistent, failure cannot ultimately destroy you. It can hurt you, yes. It can slow you down, certainly, but it cannot stop you, because consistency has a transformative effect. It turns failure from a frightening obstacle into valuable information. Every mistake becomes a data point. Every disappointment becomes a source of direction. You begin to understand, through direct experience, what works and what does not. That is how you accumulate wisdom. Experience is not just the passive act of living through time. It is the active process of surviving failure and still choosing to show up the next morning ready to try again. In the beginning, failure feels deeply personal. It feels like the world is laughing at you, judging you. You gave something your all, and it still didn't work. That pain can break your spirit if you allow it to. But if you stay consistent, something profound begins to change within you. You start to detach your core identity from your temporary outcomes. You stop saying, I am a failure, and you start saying, I failed this time. That small, subtle shift in language changes everything, because it allows you to see failure as a moment in time, not a definition of your being. It becomes a part of your journey, not the final summary of it. You will come to realize that failure is not there to stop you. It is there to shape you. It tests your hunger, your patience, your resilience. It asks you one simple, direct question. Do you really want this? And if your answer is a genuine yes, then you get up. You analyze your mistakes, you make the necessary fixes, and you try again. Every time you rise after a fall, you become stronger, sharper, and wiser. You begin to build a thick skin, a resilience that success alone could never give you. Let me tell you a secret that most people never grasp. Success often hides its lessons, but failure exposes them with brutal clarity. When you win, you celebrate. When you lose, you are forced to reflect. And reflection is the fertile ground where genuine growth happens. Failure makes you uncomfortable, and that discomfort is a powerful catalyst for change. It forces you to look closely at your habits, your strategies, your mindset. It makes you uncomfortable enough to actually change. And that is why consistent people always win in the long run, because they are never done learning. They are eternal students of their own failures. Think about a young child learning to walk. They fall down again and again and again. But do they quit? No. They might cry for a moment, then they get back up. They wobble unsteadily. They fall again. And eventually, through this repetitive process, they learn to walk. They do not see falling as failure. They see it as a natural, expected part of the learning process. Somewhere along the way, as we grow older, society teaches us that failing is shameful, something to be avoided at all costs. But the underlying truth never changed. Falling is still an integral part of learning. If you can relearn that simple childhood truth, you will never be afraid of failure again. Failure is also a great mirror. It shows you who you really are, deep down. It strips away your excuses and reveals your true character. When things go wrong, do you immediately look for others to blame, or do you look for the lessons within the experience? Do you hide from the embarrassment, or do you rise to the challenge? The way you handle failure ultimately determines how far you will go in life. Consistent people do not run away from failure. They study it, they seek to understand it, and then they use it as fuel for their next attempt. They collect every scar like a badge of honor, because each scar is tangible proof that they were brave enough to try to put themselves on the line. You cannot grow without breaking something, an old habit, a limiting belief, an outdated way of thinking. You cannot discover your true strength without testing your perceived limits. And you cannot find your best self without first meeting and overcoming your worst moments. Every failure is a doorway to a deeper understanding of yourself and your craft, but only if you keep walking forward. If you stop in front of that doorway, intimidated and discouraged, you will never see what is on the other side. But if you stay consistent, if you keep moving, failure will eventually open the door to mastery. There will be times in your journey when failure comes repeatedly, one after another, in such rapid succession that you barely have time to catch your breath. You will wonder if maybe the universe is against you. You will question your purpose, your worth, your innate ability. But you must remember this: the closer you get to your next level of achievement, the harder the tests often become. Failure at this stage is not rejection, it is preparation. Life is building your capacity, your inner strength, to handle the very success you have been praying for. Sometimes you may think you are ready for success, but you are not. Failure prepares you for it. It humbles you. It teaches you empathy for others who struggle. It removes arrogance. It builds patience. Without the tempering effect of failure, success could easily destroy you because you wouldn't have developed the strength of character to carry it gracefully. That is why the most consistent people often become wise, grounded leaders. They have tasted defeat so many times that success no longer blinds them with its glitter. They remain calm, grounded, and genuinely grateful. Every failure also refines your focus. When you fail, you are forced to stop wasting energy on things that do not matter. You become more efficient. You start to see patterns more clearly: what works, what doesn't, who truly supports you, and who only claps when you are winning. Consistency, over time, turns failure into clarity. You begin to move smarter, not just harder. Do not be afraid to fail in public. Do not be afraid to start over from scratch. The world will laugh at you anyway, whether you fail or succeed. So you might as well do something worth laughing about, something ambitious, something meaningful. Failing in front of others is painful, there is no denying that. But it is also incredibly powerful because it teaches you independence. Once you stop fearing what others think of you, you become truly free. And that freedom is what allows you to be relentless in your pursuit. Let me tell you something else. Real failure never truly ends. Even when you achieve great success, you will still encounter new kinds of failure at higher levels. The difference for consistent people is that they no longer take it personally. They come to expect failure as part of the growth process. They even learn to welcome it because they know that each time they fall, they have developed the capacity to rise faster and stronger than before. Each failure strengthens their resilience muscles, sharpens their instincts, and deepens their faith in the process. When you are consistent through failure, something truly magical begins to happen. The world around you starts to respect you, not because you are perfect and never make a mistake, but because you have proven yourself to be unbreakable. People begin to trust you because they have watched you survive storms that would have destroyed others. You become a source of inspiration for those around you, not through your easy victories, but through your enduring spirit, through your sheer refusal to give up. So, if you are failing right now, do not run from it. Do not hide from it. Instead, look failure directly in the eye and say, "Teach me." Take the lesson it offers, apply it to your next attempt, and try again. If you fail again, learn again. The more you learn from failure, the less you will fear it. The less you fear it, the stronger and more resilient you will become. And that strength, forged in the fires of persistence, not born from talent or luck, is what will eventually break every single limit in your life. Remember, the greatest comeback stories